Good morning, YouTube. Hope everybody's doing well. It is a rainy day here in Western North Carolina, and I am fresh back and showered after a run with Arlo the dog, who is wandering around. You might see him at some point. Here he is. This is Arlo. Good boy. For cooking on the Appalachian Trail is freezer bag cooking, which is where you have ingredients that can be rehydrated in a plastic bag, and you pour almost boiling water into that, seal it up, and leave it for a set amount of time, and it rehydrates and makes a meal for you. And basically what I'm going to do is make my own version of that. I have put some research into it, and I actually asked the good people of Instagram at one point for their favorite freezer bag homemade recipes, and I did get some good recipes from that, so thank you guys for responding. I want to do this for a couple of reasons. For one, it is a money-saving tactic. Making my own foods and dehydrating my own supplies is a way of cutting cost and also making sure that I have better nutrition and some maybe healthier foods than I would normally have on trail. It's also a way of me diversifying what I'm going to be eating. When I first started thinking about the resupply boxes I was going to send myself, I was thinking about putting things like Norsides in there, stuff that I know I'm going to be eating. And then I started thinking, why do that when I can put something else in there that I might appreciate a little bit more after having eaten Norsides for 2 months? So that kind of snowballed into this idea of making my own backpacking foods. So like I said, this is going to be a long video. It's also just timing-wise in my life going to take me a long time to slowly make all of the pieces because dehydrating takes a lot of time and there's multiple different types of dehydrating that I'm going to be doing. So we'll be starting with one of them today, but it's going to take me a while to fully finish this video, and this is just the beginning. I am hoping to make 9 different types of backpacking meals. So every year I make apple butter and I gift it to my family for Christmas, and I've always done it by hand, and this year I recruited my mom's help. Apparently doing that 1 year was enough for her to say not again, and she gifted me this. It is a apple peeler, corer, and slicer. So the first thing that we are going to be dehydrating is apples, and I thought that this was a perfect time to give this a try. It will cut everything in really nice even slices. It'll go ahead and take off the peels, which generally speaking I do tend to leave those on because that's where a lot of the nutrition is, but I think for drying them and for long-term storage we are going to go ahead and take those off, and I will use the peels to make apple tea or something like that. So anyway, we're gonna set this up right now. I got Fuji's because they are one of my favorites in terms of just eating, and also it's one of, I tend to use 2 apple types to make my apple butter, and it's one of the types I use for apple butter. So I know I really like them just for regular eating. When they dry, they keep their flavor really well. So that's what we're gonna use for dehydrating is Fuji's. There's some prines here. I'm just gonna stab it on without stabbing myself. Okay. All the way, just like that. And then what this is, look at that. I'm beside myself. This is just turning into the apple show. All right, and look at that. We have sliced apple. And as a quick note, I am aware that this kind of technology is not new. I mean, you could tell by the box, but coming from someone who has been peeling, chopping, and coring their apples by hand for the last 4 or 5 years, this is amazing. This is the dehydrator that I have and will be using. It is a Kusori, and it has these little touch buttons here so I can set the exact temperature and time that I want it to cook at. But inside the dehydrator, there are 6 shelves of these just basic metal grates, and it also came with 1 plastic tray, and I have used that to make some fruit leather at some point. Okay, so here we are. All I did was take those sliced apples and cut them in half and then arrange them so that there was plenty of space around each of these apples so that they all dry evenly. I filled all the shelves there, and I set this for 135 degrees Fahrenheit for 6 hours. It will probably go for at least 12, but at 6 hours, what we're gonna do is flip the apples halfway through. All right, we'll see what they look like when they come out. All right, so here's the finished product. 2 of those bags of apples minus 2 bad ones and 2 that actually just broke. I think they were a little soft on the inside. Made 2 jars of dried apples that I'm really excited about. And then just as a reminder to do something with the scraps, I took the peels and everything like that. There's the 2 that split, and I made some apple tea that's cooling off there that I'm going to put in this jug here. So out of those 2 bags, I've got 2 jars of dried apples and some apple tea. Good morning. Okay, next day we're doing the next round, which is vegetables. So I'm doing an assortment in hopes that I can get a mixture of nutrients and also just a balance of flavors with some of the meals that I have. So what we're going to be drying today: sweet onions, peppers, and mushrooms. I'm also gonna try and dehydrate some avocado, not for the veggie mixture. We're just gonna see if I can make dehydrated avocado and see if it's tasty. Okay, here she is. We've got mushrooms, peppers, onions that really shook me to my very core, and avocado that is a little bit further done than I was hoping, but I don't know, we'll see what happens. And I did collect all of the scraps in this tub here, and I will use that to make veggie stock for. All right, here it is. So we've got the top shelf there is mushrooms, we've got 2 of peppers, 2 of onions, 1 of the avocado, and then down here, if you can see it, my plastic tray down here has corn, and I forgot to preface that, but I just wanted to make use of having a little bit more space. All it is a can of corn like this that I drained off and then spread out. So that's what the dehydrator looks like. We are going to dry these at 125 for 6 hours, and then we will check them and see how they're doing. Just a quick update. Here is a jar of those dehydrated vegetables. This is peppers, onions, mushrooms, and corn. And then in this jar, this is just peas and carrots. And then I also opened a jar of red beans, or a can, excuse me, and dried that. So we've got some dried red beans. I also did a can of chili beans, and these are almost done, but they need a little bit longer. I was hoping to be able to collect some of the juices and kind of peel it up in thin layers, but that might not happen. I don't know, we'll see. That'll be chili beans. And something else I tried was tomatoes. So I had 3 cans of diced tomatoes that I spread out on this wax paper. And a couple things of note. For one, they dehydrate way down. I mean, this is a whole tomato right there, and it's like paper thin, so that's interesting. Also, just a learning lesson for myself, the tomatoes are sticking to the paper. So if you can see on the back of this, there's definitely some paper still on there. Of those 3 cans of tomatoes, I had 2 sheets drying, and one of those sheets gave me that much in dehydrated tomatoes. I'm sure they will still work, and to be honest, I've had other things stick to the contact paper before, so it will be okay to ingest small amounts of it, but definitely not ideal. I think in the future I'd like to use one of those plastic trays instead of wax paper. I think that would work a little bit better, but we're working with what we have and we're learning as we go. So, tomatoes. Okay, another day, another thing to dehydrate. So we're gonna make 1 round, because that's all the applesauce I have, of fruit leather. And so the way you do that is just by combining any fruit you have with applesauce and mix it all together, and then it gets dehydrated, and that's how you make fruit leather. So I just happen to have 2 cans of pear slices, so I'm going to drain those off and stick the pear slices in my mini food processor from KitchenAid, and then it will get mixed in a bowl with the applesauce and put in the dehydrator. So let's make some fruit leather. Okay, here it is. I've got it spread in a roughly uniform layer there, basically just up to the height of this tray itself. Putting that in, and that is going to dehydrate at 145 for 6 hours, but I'm gonna keep peeking at it to see how it's doing. I did have a ton of extra, so I'm gonna get to do this in a couple batches and have a lot of fruit leather. Pretty excited. Good morning. So today's the day we're gonna put it all together. I am going to use a vacuum sealer to put together a bunch of backpacking meals, and also some of the snacks I made, like fruit leather. You can see my latest batches right there on the counter waiting for me to cut up. Let me show you first the stash that I have going, because I look like a food hoarder at the moment, and I'll show you the materials we're using, and then yeah, each bag is just gonna get packaged. I have 9 different meals that I'm making. There will be 4 to 5 of each. And I've got some oxygen absorbers. Let me just show you. So here's the scary table of ingredients that I will be using to make all of these meals, including in the front here we've got the snacks. So these are the 2 jars of apples. This is a scary looking jar of avocado. They definitely browned, but they do still taste good. And then in this bag is my collection of fruit leather, which I have cut into these strips and separated with the wax paper, because otherwise they will all stick together. But I have lots of those and it turned out really well. And then over here is the working station. So in this notebook, I have all of my recipes. These are the bags that I will be using to vacuum seal. I have pre-labeled them with the name of the meal, the amount of water it needs, and the amount of time it has to sit. And I cut all of those to make sure that they would fit into my food cozy here. I also have oxygen absorbers. There's 5 in each of these little packets, and each of the meals will have one of these in there just for extra preservation. And then I will be vacuum sealing with this food saver that I borrowed from my grandmother. Thank you, Jima. It has the option to just seal, which is how I was kind of putting together these bags. And then what we will be doing once I fill it with food is vacuum sealing. So using a food saver to vacuum seal, super excited to have that accessible to me. And then here is my tester one that I made with my grandmother. This is cheesy bacon grits, and it went pretty well. We learned a lot from doing this one. It's not exactly the right size, so I amended it so that those bags are a little bit more prepared, but looks kind of funky, but this is what my meals are going to look like.
finished products. We have fruit leather, dried avocado, lots of dried apple, and this bucket is full of all of my backcountry meals. A couple things of note that I didn't quite get to finish. For one, I had one trail chili that did not vacuum seal, and I'm not sure you're gonna be able to see it on the camera, but right here is a tiny little hole, so it couldn't vacuum seal. So I'll have to cut another bag and just put that in there. So I've got one trail chili to fix. And another thing for my Moroccan chicken couscous, I needed dried apricot, and I thought I had dried apricot, but I don't. So I have to cut up those apricots and dry them in the dehydrator, and then I'll be able to finish off those meals there. But with those things aside, I am pretty darn pleased. I will probably this evening go back through and check all of these meals to make sure that they remained sealed, and make sure that none of them did this kind of deal where it re-aerates on the inside. But other than that, I'm pretty happy. We've got backpacking meals.
Okay, you guys, I am back from another lunch break trail run, and just wanted to close out this video. I think it's kind of serendipitous that I started it with a post-run check-in and I'm ending it with a post-run check-in. That's kind of funny to me, but I think that this project went really well. I hope that you guys can look at that and maybe get some inspiration or ideas for your own kind of homemade meals, and maybe challenge your thinking of backcountry eating. So I will put the recipes for what I made in the description, and as well as some other information, so be sure to check out that. But you guys let me know in the comments if you have any other ideas or other meals that you have had a lot of success with in the past, because I would love to diversify. I mean, I made 9 meals already. I would love to try other things. So yeah, you guys let me know. But other than that, thanks so much for following along and watching me geek out over peeling and coring apples. But other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. See ya.